Alright, my case halves are clean. I also I did a little wire wheel magic to the surface of that too, and to the bottom half also. I've also made sure that my cage ports are clean, and that I have all the gasket material and it's cleaned off where the cylinder head bases go. I'm going to put the seals on the crankshaft first. First I'm going to have a little two-stroke oil, and I'm going to put it on the seal. And the spring part of the seal, if you notice the spring in there, it goes towards the bearing. The big one goes on the clutch side, and the small bearing, or the small seal, goes on the flywheel side. If you spin this bearing, if you spin this seal on this crank, you're going to feel resistance. Therefore, when you put the crank together, remember when we put it together last time, it had almost no resistance at all, and you could spin the crank quite easily. It's going to have a little bit more resistance, and we want to check our resistance while we assemble it. That means that when we get the crank in the case and a couple of bolts snugged up to it, we want to spin it and see if it spins and we don't have anything binding. Feel how that spins, and then put the rest of the bolts in and torque them and tighten them up in the correct sequence, and spin it again and see what it feels like. If it's really binding bad, something's wrong. Or if it's binding significantly more than it was, something's wrong. It will have a small amount of bind to it because it has seals on either end. You'll be rotating a oil pump, and you will be rotating a water pump also. So all these things, you know, the crank's not just going to spin in the halves. It's going to have some friction with it, and the idea is to feel it as it goes along. And does that feel as much as the water pump should give? Does that feel as much as the oil pump should give? It should be just slightly increased. If it doesn't spin at all, or it's not spinning correctly like you think, you're going to need to examine it. Alright, we want to make sure we look at all our bearings and there's no junk on them, nothing's out of the ordinary, you know, there's no dirt or anything as far as, you know, shavings or pieces of sealant or anything. We want to make sure all our dowel pins are in the up position, like this, or close to being up. And we're going to lay this crank in here now, and then we're going to put a little I want to say Yama bond, but it's not. It's 3 bond, and we're going to probably put that on with a Q-tip or something, and we're going to put it on the other side also, and that's going to allow it to tack up a little bit. And we're going to get a couple of bolts, tip it up on end, and put a couple of bolts through it and snug it up, maybe, you know, 2 or 3, just to hold it together for right now, so we can spin it and see how the crank spins. And we'll come back to that in a